Hello and welcome to Clydebridge Station. I'm up here in the house today rather than at the layout because I'm going to talk to you about a modelling idea that I've been looking at and would like to share with you. So if you're a member of a club, or if you think you've got space for a second layout in your house or shed, or even if you are looking to get a layout built, perhaps to replace an old one, or if you're just starting out in the hobby, then I think I've got a suggestion for you. This is a magazine I used to get as a child, Motive Power Monthly. It ran from January 1986 until December 1991. It was published by Ian Allen. It was previously known as Modern Railways Pictorial and was basically the pictures and enthusiasts version of Modern Railways, but it went out on its own as Motive Power Monthly. The magazine itself had various features and articles, and this one here, February 1991, has an article there called Hothfield, and that's what we're going to look at. It's a set of industrial sidings in Kent, but these have a lot of difference to them because the actual sidings themselves offer an opportunity to do something very different for an industrial style layout. The sidings themselves were, at the time of the writing of this article in the February 91 edition, were owned by Tarmac, and they still are today. The sidings still exist. The actual article was written by Ian Feather, who took all the photographs, and we'll show you some of the photographs on camera just shortly. Tarmac Roadstone's Hothfield plant near Ashford produced at the time more than 100,000 tonnes of tarmacadam every year, and it's used in road surfacing. Only two of the aggregates made that make tarmacadam, limestone and granite, were brought to the site by train, and the items concerned would come from quarries in Leicestershire and Somerset, ARC's Hothfield Quarry in Somerset, and Tarmac's own quarry at Cliff Hill in Leicestershire. The site itself stands on the site of the old Hothfield Halt, which was closed in 1959. But as you'll see, it's actually retained as a staff halt in this article. I'll explain why in a minute. It was originally a aggregate storage depot. Then in 1954, the Tarmac coating plant was installed together with a rail siding. But in 1976, planning permission was granted for a larger and more modern plant, and it's that which forms the basis of this article. Hothfield Sidings is located on the Ashford to Maidstone main line, and that's where you've got the opportunity to do something very different with this industrial layout, because you can have the sidings and you can also have the trains passing by between Ashford and Maidstone. Not just passenger trains, but possibly freighter parcels as well. The actual access to the isolated plant by road is visible on Street View. You can have a look at it if you so wish. At the time of the writing of this article, there was only one main line through here, that being Ashford to Maidstone line. The plant itself is on the Ashford to Westwell Road, and the line crossed the road on a bridge. Since this article was written, there's a second line being opened, which perhaps provides more spotting opportunities. And if you're actually going to do this out with the era I'm talking about, the BR sectorisation era, perhaps if you're doing it say in 2019 for instance, you've also got HS1 nearby as well. So plenty of modelling opportunities, plenty of spotting opportunities. To explain things to you about how it would actually work, there's colour light ground signals that were installed on the track, and they were controlled by the Maidstone East signal box some 20 miles away. The trains themselves would run overnight down to Hothfield from various locations from Hothfield Quarry, and it ran 4 times a week. It would past the likes of Westbury, Salisbury, Basingstoke, and then it would actually head on from Maidstone down to Ashford. There the train engine would run round and then haul the train back up to Hothfield. Once at Hothfield, the train would reverse its load into the sidings. Because of the restricted space of the sidings, which you'll see on the map in a few minutes, the actual sidings themselves couldn't take a full-length train. So the procedure was that the train would be propelled into the sidings. 14 wagons would be shunted into one of the sidings at the far end, and 14 wagons would be shunted into the other siding, the long siding. Then the first 8 wagons on the train, because it could only have a maximum of 36 wagons, would be hauled through the discharge shed. They would be propelled into the short siding, which was next to the discharge shed. 14 wagons in one of the long sidings would be pulled through the discharge shed, propelled back, same with the other one, which would then be coupled up to the original 14, and the other 8 would be coupled up. The train would then leave, and it would take the course it took through Maidstone East all the way back to the quarry. It wouldn't go down to Ashford, no need to, because it had already run round. The rolling stock is pretty easy to find. It's Tarmac wagons at the time would have had the capital T letter on them. You might get them with the baked potato logos Tarmac used for a little while. Tarmac nowadays is owned by Blue Circle Industries and uses that logo instead. Motive power for these trains did differ, but in this article it was class 56s that hauled the trains. However, it was not known for class 47s and even class 33s, presumably working in pairs, the class 33s, to haul these trains as well. ARC's latest class 59s were expected at the time of the writing of this article to take over some of these trains, so we'll see if that is the case. The class 56s themselves would have had, at the time of the writing of this article, have been worked by carrying liveries of either rail freight construction, the old first generation rail freight livery, large logo blue, or BR small blue livery. As regards the passenger trains, it doesn't give too much details here, but seeing a couple of photos of them, it looks like that the class 413's electric multiple units would have hauled these trains to work the passenger trains, although I wouldn't be surprised if class 411's were perhaps used on them as well. So it'd be pretty good to actually see rolling stock like that on there as well. And they would have been in either Network South East livery, blue-grey livery, or perhaps in the case of some 411s, they might have carried the original LSE Jaffa Cake livery. What we'll do now is I'll get the camera moved and I'll show you the article with some of the photos and tell you what other things you might need to model this scene. And please bear in mind, I'm actually only modelling it in the BR, I'm talking about it in the BR sectorisation era from 1982 onwards. So if you're modelling from 1994 onwards, when it was starting to get privatised, the railways, you will probably have to use different rolling stock from what I'm mentioning here, and it'll almost certainly carry different liveries as well. Let's take a look at this article then. Well, here's the article in question, a 2-page article, and this is your track plan that you've got here. Now I'm just going to keep the camera like that, and what I would say to you is, if you want to make a note of that now or screenshot it, hit the pause key and do that straight away. What you've got here is the line heading up to Maidstone down to Ashford. This is the Ashford to Westwell Road, and that's the entrance to it, this tarmac site there. So you may need to make signs on the entrance to that for tarmac as well. Weighbridge and offices there. The street view doesn't really give you much idea of the layout of this site inside, so you may have to use your own imagination here. Hothfield Halt. It was closed to passengers, but it remains open for BR staff because although the sidings are privately owned, British Rail were contracted to maintain them, hence the need to keep Hothfield's retention as a staff halt. Overhead conveyors going to the aggregate storage bays, and also you've got the discharge shed here. There's the short siding that can take 8 wagons, 14. So this thing's a bit here, it's got to be long enough to take 8 wagons and the locomotive. There's a ground signal there, and there, catch points, a gate and a fence, and we'll talk about that in a couple of minutes. There's also a ground frame roundabout here. Moving to the 3 photos, there's the actual passenger train passing through 413301 and 413208 with a Ashford to Victoria service. There's a good view for the discharge shed. Again, if you want to pause that and make a note of that, do so now. You can see the ground frame there, catch points. Also, you've got power supplies here, and notice it's also got the third rail as well. There's street lights there and a fence, and you get a good view there of the short siding, and a little box there for an observation box or somebody to watch the train going through. Bachman's little white kiosk, which I've got in my layout at the fueling point, would actually be a very good thing for that, and Bachman street lights might actually be good enough for that. Or perhaps if you want to go for something a bit taller, I would possibly even say look at the Gauge Master street lights and have a check out of them, because they would be ideal there. Moving down to the next photo, this one just shows a train going back up to Hothfield, having run round, so you can see there the third rail. I mean, we don't need to go into that. But here's a view here taken from the Hothfield Halt. There's a gate and a little foot level crossing there for staff. Scale model scenery supply quite a lot of materials that you can scratch build a discharge shed from. Chain link fencing, again, scale model scenery will do that for you. And you've also got here this, the wooden sleepers that make up the crossing that gives BR staff access into the site. There's various manufacturers make them, and I believe SMS do that as well. You might well need electrical junction boxes as well for that. If you're going to be modelling in a later era, especially with the opening of HS1, it runs on a different alignment, and you'll need overhead gantry for HS1, no third rail. The discharge shed buffer stop, at the siding is beyond and in front of the discharge shed is just normal buffer stops, and they'll be supplied by any manufacturer. And the gate that would be here, that too can be supplied by Scale Model Series as part of their chain link fencing kit. So there we go. How's about that for a little idea for you to have a go at modelling? Tarmac, roadstones, Hothfield sidings. An industrial modelling idea that can also have up to 6 passenger trains every hour running past as well. It would certainly be a very different and very interesting layout to see getting done there. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video. The next video in the Clydebridge station series will once again not be at the layout. I'll be up at the Cooper Model Railway Club Christmas show at the Corn Exchange. If you're going to it, I hope to meet you there. In the meantime, please take care of yourselves and enjoy your layouts, and we'll see you soon. Bye bye for now.